talks. The money talks, bro, for sure. You saw some interview of him, like he's saying, like, my manager called me and asked me to fight in 1 month, and I didn't ask against who. I just say yes.
Blood still fresh, sweat still dripping, Carlos Prates stares down a live stream of thousands and drops the line no fighter likes to utter. I came to finish, I didn't. That's on me. One sentence, and the fighting nerd's 11-fight swagger vanishes. Then he lifts his taped fists, squares his shoulders, and flips the script. This bruise? It hardens the armor. In 20 seconds, the Brazilian turns defeat into a battle cry, and every viewer knows the comeback starts now. 2,000 miles north in Kansas City, the mood is heavier. Anthony Lionheart Smith, 20 years deep into a career that delivered improbable comebacks and gruesome wars, has just endured a TKO at the hands of Zhang Mingyang, the same Zhang who had been circled by matchmaking insiders as a maybe someday curiosity until his thrashing elbows forced referees to peel him off Smith's guard late in round 3. Cameras catch Smith pacing the cage edge, blood still bubbling in one nostril, when a man wearing a red Nebraska Cornhuskers shirt launches a verbal dart that bypasses banter and hits bone. Retire already, champ. Smith, whose chest tattoo reads, "Forged in Nebraska," spins on a dime and storms toward the barricade barking, "Family doesn't tear family down." Security moves, teammates shout, and remarkably, Zhang Mingyang, fresh from celebrating his career-defining win, wraps an arm around Smith and murmurs, "Save it, brother." That single sentence is enough. Smith exhales, nods, and steps away, but the emotional magma remains molten. Hours later, on the ESPN desk, he describes the scene with philosophical cool. "I've given 20 years to this game, 17 as a pro. If tonight's the final page, I'll read it with pride, not regret." Admirers applaud the grace. Critics eye the evidence of deceleration. Either way, it is an ending none can label dull.
I was 17 years old. I'm 30. If I was the type of person that would give up or shy away from adversity, I wouldn't be where I am now. There's been so many ups and downs, and my career has been a roller coaster.
Back in Brazil, Kyle Bahia, the only voice Prates trusts more than his own, uploads an Instagram story framed by punching bag chains clanging in the background. He thanks the global fan base, salutes Gary's victory with the old-school maximum respect, and then lowers his volume to make the promise sting. Carlos will study the entire 25 minutes like a chemistry exam. He'll identify every molecule of hesitation, every half-step of lost angle, and when he returns, the division will wonder why it ever let him learn that much. It is both uplift and warning, and the comment section erupts in a linguistic cocktail of Portuguese optimism and Irish taunting memes. If Prates lost the bout, Ian Garry seized the week. 30 minutes after his hand was raised, the unbeaten Irish showman popped onto livestream, still shirtless and still thrumming with adrenaline, to unveil what he calls the Montreal contingency plan. In 10 days, he will fly north, weigh in, and stand behind the curtain as backup for the welterweight championship between Belal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 315. Dana White, approached in the post-fight presser, gives a grin that is equal parts, "You got me, and why not?" Yeah, it's official. Kid manifested it. The kid's real manifest, though, is longer. On camera, he outlines a 3-step masterstroke delivered at the cadence of a man certain the ink is already dry. Beat the winner of Belal's Jack to claim gold. Welcome lightweight ruler Islam Makhachev up to 170 for a first defense and a pound-for-pound power grab, and grant Shavkat Rakhmonov an immediate rematch to avenge the split decision blemish haunting his otherwise pristine resume. Social media scoffs. Too fast, too reckless, too self-scripted. Yet scoffing cannot erase the seed Gary has planted, and seeds under bright UFC spotlights often grow faster than biology dictates.
That just speaks to the character and the person I am. I'm born and bred in Dublin, Ireland. We're called the Fighting Irish for a reason. And I'm just out here putting that on display for the world to see. When you call me and you say, "Hey Ian, do you want to..."
Meanwhile, the biggest news bullet ricocheting around headline writers comes straight from Dana White's own mouth. In a backstage scrum, he declares that newly minted middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis has signed on the line to battle Chechen super contender Khamzat Chimaev later this year, though not, he clarifies, during July's International Fight Week. Asked about John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, a matchup fans call heavyweight royalty versus young blood, White grins wider. Still the target, still super confident. Yet the true shockwave comes when he unveils the company's two-track ranking experiment. One list maintained by the traditional pool of credentialed media, the other generated by a proprietary AI model built in partnership with data scientists who, according to White, can crunch fight metrics in ways humans simply can't. The claim raises immediate intrigue and suspicion. Will an algorithm reward grinding wrestlers whose control time skyrockets, analytics scores, or striker finishers whose highlight reels drive clicks? White concedes the system is beta, that bias won't vanish overnight, and that for a while both human and machine lists will appear on screen for transparency. Cynics call it corporate theater. Technophiles brand it overdue modernization. Either way, the fighters, who watch rankings like hawks because rankings shape paychecks, are now forced to grapple with a second, potentially colder judge. Speaking of paychecks, former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman hasn't cashed a fight purse since his razor-close majority decision loss to Khamzat Chimaev in late 2023. Interviewed on Henry Cejudo's podcast, Usman shakes off whispers that he's angling for soft re-entry. "I'm a competitor," he says. "I need to feel the fire." So he picks Joaquin Buckley, a missile-fisted middleweight who recently rattled off 6 straight stoppages, including one spinning head kick seen 100 million times on TikTok, and agrees to meet him June 14th in Atlanta, the hometown of Outkast and hip-hop grandeur. Buckley, hearing the news, hops on IG Live mid-workout, sweat dripping from his chin-strap beard, and roars, "If Usman wants an inferno, I'll bring the gasoline." He then rewinds the Garry Prates broadcast on a corner screen, pointing out what he calls Gary's sloppy resets, laughing that Irish mist will evaporate the day he meets Buckshot Buckley. It is trash talk with comedic timing, but the numbers back his confidence. Of Buckley's last 6 wins, 5 arrived before the judges could sip water. Trash talk also surfaces in the featherweight division, though with a modern twist.
I tried it. I tried moving with Francis one time. We know you're on the other side of the world, literally, because especially as soon as I see you, immediately I go into speaking pidgin because.
Gene Silva, fresh off choking Bryce Mitchell unconscious at UFC 314, posts a montage titled "Receipts," a supercut of 14 analysts predicting Mitchell's experience would nullify Silva's whirlwind jiu-jitsu, followed by the cut-to-black clip of Mitchell's arm tapping seconds before he slept. Atop the video, Silva types, "While they debated heroes and villains, I sharpened blades." The comment section rages until a single line from Israel Adesanya appears. "Lol, I love receipts." The message has 4 letters, 1 comma, and yet detonates speculation. Would Adesanya return to 145 for a special event spectacle, or perhaps test Silva above 155 in a theme night catchweight? Either notion feels borderline ludicrous. Izzy is, after all, chasing middleweight redemption, but Adesanya has built an empire on vaulting weight classes when intrigue outweighs practicality. For Silva, even trending alongside Izzy's name multiplies his negotiating leverage overnight.
Be there around the same time, and bro, watching these kids it just inspired me seeing, and because I always told people when I started kickboxing, they're like, "Why do you fight the way you fight? Why is your hands down? Why are you so cocky?" I was like, I don't know.
While headlines dance around belt chases and algorithmic futures, the most human moment of the week sits quietly in the corner of Instagram, backstage footage of Garry and Prates. The Irishman, still breathing hard, drapes an arm over Prates' shoulder and whispers, microphones too distant to catch every syllable, that this won't be our last dance. Prates nods, smiles, a thin smile but genuine, and replies, "Maybe for the belt next time." The clip lasts 12 seconds, yet spreads faster than any knockout gif, a reminder that rivalry does not erase respect, that the sport's brutality can, for brief beats, yield to mutual admiration. That glimpse of humanity catches the algorithm by surprise. It racks up 2 million plays in under 4 hours. With those storylines set, the news cycle loops back to the Kansas City post-fight show where Smith, face finely cleaned, tries to articulate life beyond the cage. "Fighting," he says, "gave me everything. Purpose, income, a path out of chaos. Walking away feels like removing the roof from a house you still live in." He pauses, chuckles softly, shakes his head. But every roof ages. Sometimes the rain tells you it's time for new construction. The metaphor resonates because fans watched Smith transform over the years, from regional journeyman to title challenger to ESPN analyst, all while fathering children and volunteering in his Omaha community. If this truly is goodbye, it concludes an era defined not by flawless technique, but by monumental heart, the same heart that captivated viewers when he refused to quit against Glover Teixeira despite losing teeth on national television. As the camera pans across the post-fight set, producers flash the updated welterweight board featuring Muhammad, Della Maddalena, Garry, Buckley, Rachmanov, and a half-dozen hungry names jockeying for position. For a moment, the conversation drifts to that looming AI ranking list. Will a supercomputer factor in intangibles like mental warfare, social momentum, fan engagement? White's earlier caveat, "I don't expect AI to solve everything," suddenly feels less like humility and more like a preemptive shield against inevitable controversies. Imagine the chaos if an undefeated prospect plummets because the algorithm weighs strength of schedule more heavily than finish rate. Or if a beloved slugger climbs over a tactical grappler because highlight reel virality feeds a metric no one fully understands. In a league where one ranking spot can mean an extra $100,000 and a pay-per-view point, fighters will audit those lines the way day traders eyeball NASDAQ ticks. Now subscribe and stay tuned, because tomorrow the news may reshuffle the deck, John Jones may tweet a medical update, or Adesanya may decide a featherweight flirtation isn't so far-fetched after all, and when that happens, we'll be right back on the air to break it down.